we should be recording audio. Wah, wah, wah. Hello, hello. There we go. This is a weird setup today. How's it going, everybody? It's the end of the year. And what a year it's been. You know, so much has changed. I've changed. You changed. My shirt just changed. That was a lie. But at the end of the year, I always like to do a little bit of self-reflection. You know, it's pretty obvious here that I enjoy a little bit of self-reflection in my videos. So, hey, why don't we look at all the games that I've played this year, and let's talk about some of the best of the best games that I've played in 2022. I should clarify that these are games that I played in 2022, not games that came out in 2022. Because if you'll notice my list from last year, the same thing. Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate got really, really high marks in 2021. That game came out in like 2014, maybe? Wait, when did 4 Ultimate come out? Hold on. Yeah, 2014. I was right on the money. Look at that. So yeah, some of these games came out in 2022, not all of them. And if your favorite game this year didn't end up on my list, cry about it, make your own list, skill issue, +L + ratio, you know the deal. But before we actually get into the list itself, let's talk about a few honorable mentions. Death's Door was a game that I played earlier this year, played through the whole thing on my Steam Deck when I first got it, and it's a pretty fun combination of Souls-like combat with Legend of Zelda-style puzzle solving. It was pretty good though, so good that I made this community post about it when I finally beat it. Honestly, any of the games that I talk about here in this video, you can go and probably find them on Steam or wherever you want to find them and play them yourself, because, let's be honest, I've got the best taste in video games. Am I right? Am I? She gets it. She understands. I sat down and I played through all of Mario Kart DS. I don't know why, just one night I decided, hey, I'm going to plow through every single cup and speed of the game, and I'm going to unlock everything. Here's a fun fact. I never actually unlocked Rob the Robot as a child, and so doing it 10 to 15 years later, it's pretty fun to finally be able to play as Rob the Robot. I could not unlock him even with the use of Action Replay, so goes to show just how shit I was at Mario Kart DS. Shoutouts to Pokemon Emerald being the first Pokemon game that I actually played through all the way to the Elite Four and beat this year. And special shoutouts to Pokemon Crystal Clear for being the first Pokemon game that I've actually enjoyed. Kirby and the Forgotten Land has been a pretty fun take on Kirby gameplay, pretty fun evolution, honestly. I've been wondering when Kirby was going to finally make the jump to full 3D gameplay, and that game certainly did not disappoint. I didn't beat it all the way through. I got to the point where you get to go into the portal near the end, like essentially the post-game, but I never actually finished the post-game. Maybe I'll go back one day and beat it, maybe I won't. I don't know. But I don't really count that game as beaten, so that's why it's not appearing on the main top 10 list. Because I don't want to include games that are just games I played, it's games that I, like, beat, you know what I mean? It was also really fun to go back and try some older Monster Hunter games. Went and revisited 3 Ultimate not long ago. Went and finally played Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, because I never actually owned a PlayStation Portable, so Freedom Unite has been a pretty fun little experiment. I definitely don't think it's better than 4 Ultimate or Gen U or even World, honestly. But I had a lot of fun playing it, so hey, that's at least worth something. And Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak is not on this list. It's only in the honorable mentions. Sunbreak made me finally realize that I don't really enjoy Rise as much as I did 4U or Gen U or even World, honestly. And I don't quite understand why. I'll need to play more of all of these games to kind of understand my feelings towards Monster Hunter, but for now, my gut feeling is I didn't enjoy Rise as much as other games. And it's funny to think about, because you go back to the video where I played that game for the first time, and I was basically crying at how much I was enjoying my time. But, I don't know. Opinions can change over time, you know? And the sooner we accept that opinions can change over time, the sooner we can advance as a society. But enough virtue signaling. Let's just get into the list proper. Now here's a game that I both fully expected to enjoy and didn't expect to enjoy as much as I ended up enjoying it. A Cult of the Lamb. I'll admit that what I'm about to say is pretty reductive for Cult of the Lamb, but I could describe that game as a combination of Animal Crossing and Hades. Hades nuts. The Animal Crossing portion comes in where you're building up your little town and you're interacting with your cult members and you're giving them gifts and making them feel welcome, curing illnesses, all that kind of stuff. But when you leave the camp and start doing this action roguelike kind of combat system, that's where the Hades comparison comes in. Again, not exactly the same kind of game, but they're comparable. And just like Death's Door, I played through this whole game, almost all of it, on my Steam Deck, and it was a very, very comfortable experience. The only downside that I ran into in this game is that, mostly just a performance issue. When you go into your camp late in the game, there's so many cultists running around, and there's so much stuff happening, and all these decorations you can possibly place, that I think, I actually don't know the cause of this, but I think the game engine itself can't handle that much movement and interactions and all these different things that are happening in your cult, essentially. So effectively, when you go to your compound to interact with all of your cult members, the game kind of dips to like 40 frames, 30 frames, whatever. And honestly, that's a fine reason for why the game performs so, I don't want to say poorly, but why the performance dips there is because there's so much happening, right? I actually have not played it since I beat it earlier this year, so I do not know if there's been an update that has fixed performance issues later in the game. And I know it wasn't just the Steam Deck, because the same performance dips would happen on my PC, my desktop that I'm pointing at right now. And that thing's got a 2070 Super and a 3900X inside of it, so I know for a fact that computer can run Cult of the Lamb at 60 frames a second. It's just when you go into your compound. But still a really good game, highly recommend it. Go play it. Now, I've actually already talked about Grow Home. I talked about it earlier this year in the 5 games you've never heard of video, which you can go watch later if you want more recommendations from me. So because of that, I'm going to keep this section relatively brief. What I can say is that Grow Home is a very, very fun 4 to 5 hour little experience. Just this fun platformer. You get to glide around on a leaf. You get to just grow a plant and just vibe. It is what I call a vibe game. And there are a bunch of vibe games out there that I personally enjoy playing from time to time. Grow Home has fit very, very nicely in that little niche in my brain. So maybe I can do a list later of my favorite vibe games. So, you know, be the funny robot. Have a fun, good time. Yeah. So here's where it becomes like painfully obvious that these are games that I've played and beaten this year. Metroid Fusion, a Game Boy Advance game. Now, I've played Fusion before. I played it on a really cheap emulation handheld that my dad got me from thinkgeek.com, if anybody in the audience remembers that decrepit website. But I haven't played it since then. So I figured, you know what? Might as well install it on the deck, revisit it, play it again, see what's up. And yeah, that game still kicks ass. I don't know if it's the best Metroid game. You know, Super still holds up really, really well. Prime and Prime 2 are like tied in my brain. Dread was just such a phenomenal experience from start to finish. Maybe I'll replay Dread again on the Steam Deck. That could be a fun video topic. But I don't mean to say this to discredit Fusion on how good it is, because it is like an easy 8 or 9 out of 10. I just don't think it's like my favorite in the series, you know what I mean? But it has a lot of really fun concepts, and at this point, you know if you like Metroid or not. If you haven't played Metroid yet, probably start with Super Metroid. That's probably the most accessible, because you can play it in the Switch Online bundle, or on other systems that you might own or have or are able to get. Can you tell a lot of this video is like really off the cuff? I basically haven't written a script. Metroid Fusion, good, very good, yes. So Psychonauts 2 actually was nominated for Game of the Year last year, but I didn't play last year. I started playing Psychonauts 2 January of this year, And as a fan of Psychonauts 1, oh man, that game blows Psychonauts 1 like out of the water, just in how much they've improved the general flow of gameplay and the way everything feels and controls. So I was just thinking about it, and I was thinking like, is there anything in Psychonauts 2 that I would actually prefer would be replaced with the system from Psychonauts 1? And no, actually, I could not think of a single thing. The level design in Psychonauts 2 is just so much better than the design in 1. Like, really, some of the best levels in that game are like comparable to the average level in Psychonauts 2. Like, that is how good they've improved the level design and all that. Environmental storytelling has just taken a massive leap upwards, like hand in hand with the level design. There were some genuinely amazing plot twists that I just did not expect in that game at all. Like, I figured Psychonauts 2 would be like a relatively easy to digest story, but you get to the end of that game, if you've played this game, you understand. You get to the end of that game and you're questioning like fucking everything that is happening. It is beautiful. I love that game. Not only that, but it like controls a lot better too. Like, it just feels so much better and so much snappier to control Raz as he's platforming around, and you still get that freedom of movement that you expect from a 3D platformer of this design. And there are so many fun abilities that you can experiment with, and so many interesting things you can do with these powers and these psychic abilities and all the people you can interact with in this game. It's really good. And keep in mind, Psychonauts 2, I'm singing all these praises of Psychonauts 2, and this is number 7 on the list. So, we got some shit coming, just you wait. So you might be thinking, you know, Lil Gator game kind of looks to be a similar type of game to Grow Home. And you'd be correct, yes. Lil Gator game is a similar sort of 3D platforming sort of vibe game, where you're just kind of being a little gator and you can just hang out in this little village and you can interact with all these little animal guys and make friends and climb the mountain and do all this stuff. Like, Lil Gator game is comparable to Breath of the Wild too, and that just like increases it so much more in my brain. Like, it's just a fun time, right? Here's the key difference between Grow Home and Lil Gator game. Grow Home didn't make me cry. I'm being completely serious. The final 20 to 30 minutes of Lil Gator game actually like genuinely made me tear up at how just touching it was. It is a very fun game, and it also has impactful emotional moments near the end. So, gotta be, you know, a bit higher up on that list. And also, I beat that game like a week ago, little less than a week ago, so it's still kind of the honeymoon phase in my brain has not ended. I would still highly recommend Lil Gator game though. Very, very, yes, do it. What do I even have to say about Risk of Rain that hasn't already been said? Risk of Rain 2 was already like tied or like up there with some of my favorite roguelikes ever. Up there with Binding of Isaac, up there with Slay the Spire, with Hades, all of these games. Risk of Rain 2 was up there. And Survivors of the Void just made that game better. There's a few mechanics that people have, you know, issues with. And you can definitely say that Hopoo Games has not handled the console release of Survivors of the Void in the most graceful manner. But actually sitting down and playing the game and interacting with the systems and getting these endings and finding all these new items and making new insane builds and the new characters you can play as, it is just food for my goopy goblin gamer brain. It is a very fun game to sit down and fuck around with your friends and make stupid fucked up builds. And I've actually like almost 100%ed Risk of Rain 2, including the Survivors of the Void DLC. So like, if I'm able to sit down for that long of a time and play this game for like 150 something fucking hours of just essentially the same gameplay loop over and over and over again, something good is happening with it, you know? I like games that let me just break it, right? Risk of Rain 2 and Isaac Repentance are like tied in my brain for my favorite roguelike game ever. So, yeah. You want to know something really funny about me? I have never actually beaten Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door before this year. I got pretty far when I initially played it on my GameCube. You know, I got to essentially the final dungeon of the game, but I never actually, like, finished it. You know what I mean? So I thought to myself, hey, I got the deck, I got emulation set up, let's just fucking do it, and let's just play through Mario Thousand Year Door. And I did, and it was fucking stellar. One thing that I actually totally took for granted when I was a kid was the badge system. Like, the badge system completely recontextualizes almost every interaction you have in that game, at least for me. Because I'm sitting here and I'm talking to these NPCs and I'm learning the story and I'm getting, you know, these deep moments with all these characters. And one of the biggest things that I can think of in the back of my head as I'm playing this game is, okay, but where are the new badges though? I know that that's like pretty reductive because the story in Thousand Year Door is actually pretty good. Not the overarching plot, but the little plots you get in each chapter. Those are actually really, really good. And Vivian is like one of the best fucking characters in the whole game. In Mario history, Vivian is one of the best characters. I barely upgraded my health or my Paper Mario equivalent of mana or whatever. I barely touched that because I just wanted more badge points. So I'd put the badge points in, I'd put on the badge that gives me more health, and then I think to myself, well, I could just take away my health to give me more damage, and I did several times. The amount of times I could have equipped more health when instead I chose to wait and equip a 6-point cost damage up badge. At pretty much every level, I wanted to get more damage out. I even equipped badges that gave more damage to my partners. Like, holy shit. And the fact that I could make those choices and the fact that I could build Mario and his party exactly like I wanted was very, very gratifying to me. I'm a big fan of games that let you build your character and customize them in the way that you want. And Thousand Year Door just takes that to a whole new level with the badge system. I've already talked earlier this year about Bug Fables, but I'm going to put myself on blast here and say that I haven't actually beaten Bug Fables yet, so I need to sit down and fucking play that. I just started playing God of War, so maybe after I play a vibe game in between God of War and Bug Fables, I don't know. We'll figure something out. I bought like 6 games during the winter sale. I'm not gonna play like maybe half of them, more than half of them. You know, I got shit to do. I got my real job and then I got this, and I just can't play games as much as I used to. Adult life. It's fun, isn't it? No, it's not. You ever just play a game that's like crack? Like actually just crack? That's Vampire Survivors. It is the barest minimum of what you can call a game. It is, you don't press any buttons. You move, your character fires automatically, and the only interactions you have are what items you pick during a given run of the game. And I've put like 50 something hours into this, and I 100%ed this game like 3 or 4 times over, and then they just kept adding more to it. I just bought the DLC for this game. I'm going to lose my fucking life to this game, man. Just get those veins nice and plump. Let's get some more in me. Let's just play more Vampire Survivors. Like, everybody's already sung the praises of this game, and I'm just here to echo that same sentiment. Vampire Survivors is just crack, and it is great, and I love it, and it's stupid. I love games where the focus of it is to just break it. You are not playing the game, you are playing to break it. It's awesome. I love that shit. Yeah, who would have thought another old world Monster Hunter game ranks pretty high in my, top 10 games of the year list or whatever. Last year was Monster Hunter 4. This year it is Generations Ultimate. I just can't get enough of this fucking series, man. I'm going to keep this relatively short because I've already had numerous lengthy conversations about Monster Hunter on my streams and in the videos that I've done, and I have so much Monster Hunter content on this channel that I don't even know what the fuck I can do with all of it. But safe to say that I really, really enjoy this series, and I really love old world games and it has been a blast to go back through Generations Ultimate and revisit some of these old monsters that I haven't fought in years, and see like the beta versions of what would become the Switch skills and the Hunter arts in Rise. And honestly, I think I enjoy it more in Generations Ultimate. I don't know yet. I would need to like really sit down and like think about it. But we're just going off gut feelings today, and I'm really enjoying how everything is working in Generations Ultimate, so you know. Did you, like, honestly expect anything else to get Game of the Year? Like really? Honestly? I'm already, like, the definition of Dark Souls simp. So I was beyond excited for Elden Ring when I heard that it was coming out. And I was right there. I went hollow for those 2 or 3 years where there was just nothing fucking happening with this game. And, you know, everybody was making, you know, Glaive Master Hodir art and memes and everything, and everybody was, like, making up their own lore of the games, and, ooh, Elden Ring, oh, going hollow and all that. I was there for that. I was right on board that hype train, right? Even with all of my expectations being fairly high, I like to keep realistic expectations for games like these. You know, I like to think, oh, it's gonna be probably Dark Souls 4 with a slight, you know, open world mechanic. Maybe, you know, you ride the horse. It'll be pretty fun. And, like, Elden Ring is, like, the only game this year that has exceeded my expectations so high, I can't describe it. Like, there are games that I've gone into and I've played where it's like, oh, I didn't expect to enjoy this game as much as I did. You know, I'm actually enjoying God of War, for example, right? I didn't expect to enjoy the God of War remake. But Elden Ring was like, okay, my expectations are like up here, kind of, and what the game does is go fucking stratosphere levels of what they've accomplished. I don't think there is going to be a game like Elden Ring for a long, long time. The amount of work that From Software has put into this game, and just the sheer amount of pretty meaningful content. This isn't like a Ubisoft open world game where you're just like, there's just like little micro objectives dotted around the map and you just go do a thing, or you do a trailing objective, or, you know, you clear out an encampment for the 98th time. Like, sure, it's an open world game, and Elden Ring is a pretty massive open world game, so you are seeing reuse of assets here and there. But even still, those assets that they're reusing are done in really, really smart ways. Like, you go through a bunch of catacombs in Elden Ring, right? And even when I was 100+ hours into the game, and I went into a catacomb that I never fucking saw before, and I knew that there were chests that teleported you, going to that one specific catacomb, where you open the chest, and it teleports you to the same catacomb, but slightly different, that was such a mindfuck of a catacomb. I was so late in the game, and even that, the game still found ways to blow my goddamn expectations out of the water. I don't think I will ever play a game again where I'm that deep into the experience and it still finds ways to make me just step back and be like, holy shit, like, this is a masterpiece of a game. Obviously, Elden Ring is not a perfect game. There is no such thing as a perfect game. It obviously has its problems. But out of all of the games I have played and beat in 2022, Elden Ring is just so far above everything else, I can't put any other game in my #1 spot. I'll finish God of War at some point. I'll get to all the other games that I've bought and said I'm gonna finish. I'll play through Bug Fables, you know, I do want to play through that game at some point in 2023. But for the time being, I just want to sit back and I just want to reflect on my experience with Elden Ring and all the other games I played in this year and just think, damn, there were some fucking bangers this year, right? Hey, thanks for making it to the end of this video. It's over now, so if you want to go, I'm not going to blame you, but I just wanted to give a shout out to everybody who's been supporting the channel for the past year. We broke into the 2,000 sub mark this year, and we're still kind of hovering around 2K subs. A lot has been changing for me, both on a personal level and in, like, managing this channel and what kind of content I want to make. A lot of that has happened near the end of the year, but it's been kind of eye-opening, I guess, I feel like I'm in a much better place at the end of this year than I was at the end of 2021, which is a good thing. So we'll just see what 2023 brings, you know? Thank you again to everyone who's watched, who's supported me, especially the patrons. Even if you're a past patron and you're watching and you can't donate to the Patreon anymore, for whatever reason, either you just don't want to or you can't financially do it anymore. Either way, it's fine. I still appreciate everybody who's, you know, supported me at all, you know? Thanks to all the new subscribers, people who've been watching the streams. You know who you are, the regulars of the streams. I do appreciate y'all coming in and keeping me company and making the streams actually fun, you know, for the first time in a while. I think ever. I'm not going to be making any promises for what I'm going to be doing in 2023, just because I know that things are going to change. Like, this video is late, right? And I feel bad that it's late, but I guess I just severely overestimated my abilities to get this video done properly. And even then, there's still a lot of problems with this video, but it's whatever. All I can say right now is that I just want to better myself and the content that I create, and I want to make stuff that will help people in any way that I can possibly help them, you know? So yeah, just thank you again. You know, it's cool that people like watching what I make, you know?